Is there anything sweeter than the team in second place being the ones to give the guard of honour? The stars have truly aligned. Of course, we finished last episode with a draw that sealed promotion and needed just 7 points to win the league. In the end, it didn't even require that. A late Kelvin Yeboah penalty against Eibar looked to put us on course for a win until Reese's 92nd minute equaliser. Real Valladolid, who needed to win out, had been held by Andorra before falling 2-0 to Malaga. That meant a draw against Tenerife would be enough, but we'll be doing it without Yeboah, whose twisted ankle might have ended his season. It took until the second half for us to break them down, Nieto pouncing on a rebound. Zeka arrived late to double the lead 10 minutes later, before Michelis sealed the deal with a powerful header from a corner. You may be wondering, where's Waldo? There he is, setting up a consolation goal. And that was how we won Zaragoza's first trophy in 22 years. That brings us to the Valladolid game, where Montserrat raced through after 2 minutes to give us the lead. He turned provider for the second, setting up 19-year-old Dennis Rufo as we looked to celebrate in style. That celebration started at half-time and ended 4 minutes into the second half. Bruno Iglesias pulled one back from the kickoff, Alex Piscano equalised from a free kick. And that would be how the game ends, a fun 2-2 draw. With nothing left at stake, let's rattle through the remaining games before assessing just what we need to do over the summer to survive in La Liga. It's montage time. So close to a second successive unbeaten season, denied by a relegated Deportivo La Coruña side who hadn't won a game in 3 months. We'll be joined in La Liga by Real Valladolid and Almeria, replacing last season's Segunda Division winners Real Betis, Alaves and Cadiz. Let's check out the review. Luis Munoz was our star signing, which surprises me, but then 16 goal contributions from a right back will probably do that. To be fair, I don't know who I expected to take that mantle. Dari was great in his half season, and Davis's impact was curtailed by injury. I'm not surprised to see Anuar and Gonzalez at the bottom of the list though, and whilst they were more than serviceable, I doubt they'll figure heavily in our plans for next season. Montserrat was, as expected, the star of the show. 19 goals and 11 assists was a phenomenal return from a player used in virtually every attacking position possible. As far as losing players to a minimum fee release clause go, this one's worked out pretty well with the loan back. We're going to miss him. No regrets over Leclerc or Cantero. Yes, they've performed well, but at a much lower level. Leclerc in fact was loaned out after 6 months, so he evidently couldn't even make the grade at Casapia. Aguado was the other big sale, and he's only been a bit part player at Valencia. An A+ for the league. I should bloody hope so. It was not enough to get the fans to attend though, so let's hope La Liga football will find that last 12%. A deep cup run was never on the cards, but the board seemed content. Back-to-back games in February for our biggest win and match to remember. Can't for the life of me recall Francho's goal of the season though, so let's check it out. Oh, that was underwhelming. Finances are wrong? Apparently the club generated 0 revenue last season. I suppose at least we've improved it with our 722 shirt sales. God, that's pitiful. I can at least agree with the best 11. Rancho led the team in assists, 13 in the league, 1 in the cup. An impressive return for a player who doesn't take set pieces. As for the accolades, it's pretty much what's been covered already. Montserrat was amazing, Munoz was our signing of the season, and drumroll please, Alejandro Francis made the most passes per 90. No competition awards unfortunately, largely because there are very few given out in the Segunda division. Now let's break down our performance a little bit more, and see what we need to address for next season. First thing, we massively outperformed XG, both scoring and conceding. In fact, we didn't deserve to finish top, but there is a big asterisk here. We changed tactics after 15 games, partly because our performances did not merit the results we were seeing and it was unsustainable. We've continued to overperform with the changes, but to a much lower degree. One thing that stands out is our shot accuracy. At just shy of 50%, we are a long way ahead of the rest of the pack. This is a tactical feature. We don't have wingers who cut inside and spank it from distance. We discourage crossing, so we're not generating a large volume of high difficulty headed chances. Our crossing accuracy is therefore high because we only attempt crosses when the opportunity is right. We're not a particularly dribbly team. Again, this is something we discourage with our wide players to stop them running down blind alleys, and our focus is on quick passing in central areas. The knock-on effect here is we don't win many free kicks, which could be an opportunity missed given our effectiveness from set pieces. Our attacking play is something we can expect to be effective still next season. Not quite at the same level as we face better opposition, but still more than sufficient to carry a threat. Our defensive performance might be tougher to replicate. The big takeaway here is we got lucky. We were good at restricting chances, largely due to having 63% possession, but we cannot plan for La Liga strikers to convert at such a poor rate. Our tackling was good. Despite showing as just below average, we actually had the 5th best tackle success rate, which is surprising because we also conceded the 5th most fouls and picked up the 4th most yellow cards. Despite conceding a lot of free kicks, we faced very few crosses. This indicates that those fouls are happening away from dangerous areas. This is fine. We are, however, conceding above average XA from these set pieces. Given our effectiveness in attacking set pieces, we should have the aerial ability to defend too, so this is an area we need to address. By which I mean we're going to sack our set piece coach. Lastly, a word on our low block. We would expect most of our defensive actions to be occurring in our own half, so there is nothing majorly concerning here, but I am surprised by 11% of actions occurring just inside the opposition half. This might be indicative of the counter press, but I do want to keep a closer eye on whether we're getting sucked out of shape a bit too easily. If we can be more disciplined with the low block, we should be able to increase possession 1 in these 2 areas, and reduce the amount required in the box. So what does this mean for our transfer plans? In the last episode I mocked Sporting Gijon for pinning their survival hopes on a couple of Ligue 2 signings. So I've gone and signed one of them. We tied up a €3.9 million deal for Harrison Marcelin, a 6'6" centre-back who has played mainly as a defensive midfielder for Gijon. His 85% tackle win rate is pretty damn sexy, as is his 6.14 headers won per 90. He offers us flexibility, and alongside Nikos Michelis and the soon-to-be arriving Facundo Gonzalez, we have a trio of absolute giants at our disposal. I see him as a replacement for Bamo Maite. Maite played mainly in midfield for us and did well, but as soon as he arrived on loan, Lorient took him off the transfer list. We also need to be prepared for the inevitable departure of Alejandro Francis. Interest has not waned over the last 6 months, and it's only a matter of time before his release clause is met. He's our highest rated defender, and his 11% progressive pass rate is damn impressive. We'll miss him. Akraf Dari should be the replacement. He was excellent in the central berth of our back three and is nearly as progressive. The loan seems to have worked as he is now interested in a permanent deal, but his demands of around 30k per week might be a stumbling block. More on that a little later. Montserrat will obviously be heading back to Newcastle. Because of injuries elsewhere, he played in all three of our attacking spots, and it's going to be difficult to replace him with someone who can do everything to quite the level he could. Matthias Marin was decent at the tip of the diamond with 13 goal contributions, but I'd like to see more threat both carrying the ball and getting shots off. I think he'll be okay at the next level, but this is an area to improve. Bermejo annoyed me, and he wants to leave, so we've accepted offers from Mallorca and Clermont-Foot. I look forward to the money. Speaking of, Sinan Bakis has agreed a move to Frosinone for just shy of €4 million. Good riddance. And hopefully joining them out the door is Marcos Baselga. As soon as he got some game time, he started complaining, and he's just not good enough to be a diva. That does mean we're going to be very thin up top. Davis is injury prone but has proved effective. Rufo is raw. Beltran is rawer. Both will hopefully go out on loan. And that leaves Kelvin Yeboah. 5 goals in 11 90s is a pretty decent return, and I was happy with his contribution, but he wants over 30k per week to stay. I feel we can probably find someone better for that kind of money. That leaves us with only one striker, which is less than ideal. Of course, we can't really make plans until we know what we've got to work with. We have a transfer budget of 23 million, which will increase with the sale of Bermejo and inevitable departure of Francis. Our wage budget is 315k per week, but that's kind of a misnomer. Spain has a very strict wage cap, based on revenue. It's why our first team squad had to have combined wages below 170k per week, yet Osasuna were able to spend more than double. This is a problem because I have absolutely no idea what our cap will be in La Liga. Some cursory research suggests that FM struggles to model this accurately, and so I should probably wait until the new season rolls over. But that's in mid-July, and waiting until then will see us miss out on key targets. So instead, let's make an ill-informed attempt at trying to predict. Last season, the club generated 31 million, and we've almost doubled it this year. Next season, we can anticipate a sizable increase in TV revenue, possibly somewhere around 45 million euros, a considerable jump from the 7 this year. Last year, the club spent 30 million, so a total net profit of about 1 million. We've spent 6 million more this year, but with the increased revenue, that's a net profit of 21 million euros. We do have debts, 10 million remaining, paid at 3.6 million per year. If we look at competition rules, the minimum wage in the Segunda division is 1,500 per week, and in La Liga, 3k. Whilst here, let's look at salary spend. Huesca are bottom with a similar spend to Osasuna. That equates to around 360,000 euros per week. Put that all together, and I think it's safe to assume that we'll have a wage cap somewhere around, fuck knows. I'm going to play it safe and work on the basis that it will double, 350k per week. So let's head back to the squad and look at our wage commitments right now. There's a handful of players we do not expect to be here next season, so let's cut them out and add in Marcelin and Gonzalez. We'll need to give Rebolo a new contract to hit that minimum. That would be a total spend of around 105k on 15 players. We need to factor in wage rises, top division, yearly, etc., which increases our spend by about 20k overall. That means we have around 225k per week to play with. If we can find some rotation players around the 10k mark, we can perhaps look to bring in 1 or 2 for over 30k. And this is a good time to talk about recruitment strategy. We're in Spain. Most of our squad is Spanish. We obviously want to prioritise Spanish players. If we can't find affordable Spanish options, then Spanish speaking is the next best thing. We have a small team of scouts, and as we are reliant on them for building a pool of players, we need to be selective with our foci. La Liga allows us to have 3 non-EU players, and we have 2 of those slots filled by Matthias Marin and Keenan Davis. That allows us 1 more, and with almost an entire continent of talented footballers who speak Spanish, we've set up some foci in Argentina, Uruguay and Chile. Star ratings are set low so as to give us as broad a pool as possible to plough through. With Harrison Marcelin due to arrive and Gaëtan Poussin already at the club, we have a small French contingent. The most prominent Frenchman, however, is our assistant manager, Wilfried Nancy. He was sacked early on as Columbus crew manager, and I was more than happy to have someone of his calibre on the team. As France are our neighbours, scouting costs are relatively low, and so we've set up a focus there as well. Finally, we have quite a few Italian speakers. Keenan Davis spent 2 seasons there. Michelis spent 3 years in Milan's academy. Zeka and the soon-to-be arriving Facundo Gonzalez both have Italian second nationality, so there's a focus there too. Now this was all done after the last transfer window closed, so we have a decent selection to go through now. But first, it's time to go on holiday. The players will return on 13th of July, less than 4 weeks before La Liga starts. That seems dumb. Oh well, Yannis Mustermann will also take a couple of weeks off, so let's skip forward. So here we are, the 1st of July, and we've been busy. 8 new arrivals. Adri Lopez is rubbish, but he cost nothing, accepted the minimum wage, and is willing to be the emergency backup. Carlos Alvarez is not rubbish. His goal against us might have put him on our radar, as did his league-leading 16 assists for Levante last season. He had the most open play key passes per 90, can play as a striker if need be, and is yet to reach his peak. €7 million and 12k per week is a bargain. Quadro Dua arrives for 3.6 million and becomes our highest earner at 32.5k. An absolute speed merchant, he should be an improvement over Kelvin Yeboah, even if his 6 goals in Ligue 2 doesn't look impressive. He actually had the highest goals per 90 in the division, but was behind Van Zepotnik in the depth chart. Marcelin and Gonzalez I've already introduced. Both players arrive as squad players on favourable wages. Yannis Antiste is another player discovered from our French scouting mission. He finished second in the Ligue 2 goal scoring charts with 16 goals in 36 games. What I like about him is his flexibility, and that he was free. He has the pace to play as an advanced forward, but also the physicality and vision to play as the deep-lying forward. We took the plunge with Akraf Dari, whose demands actually ended up on the lower end of what the agent suggested, and rounded things out with Andre Duda. Another free transfer, low wage demands, and 8 years of top 5 league experience. Hopefully, he can add some quality to our midfield. Bermejo and Baselga left for a combined 9.5 million, but we are yet to receive a bid for Francis. We still need more. A 4th striker is a must, as is another forward-thinking defensive midfielder. Ideally one who could cover at right wing-back, as an injury to Munoz or Zeka will leave us short in one of the most physically demanding positions. We still have about 120k per week spare, so I might have done something stupid. As it turns out, not stupid enough. Boulaïdia opted for less money in Saudi Arabia, and we've probably been spared from making a mistake. We also tried for former Real Madrid midfielder Rainier, but he chose Aek instead. Eventually, the bids for Francis were forthcoming, and he is now a Real Sociedad player. That came shortly after the seasons rolled over, and let me tell you, I got our wage cap estimates wrong. 575k per week is, quite frankly, luxurious. We do have 3 new players to introduce though. Sekou Mara was a player we looked at in January. Another available on a free, he scored 13 goals for Frosinone last season, and his wage demands have dropped a long way from the 48k he was earning before. Like Antiste, he has the ability to play in either striker role, and we now boast 4 strikers who are all 6 foot or taller. he's joined by Edwin Herrera, a Colombian wingback who can play on either side and takes up our final non-EU slot. His contract expired at the end of the calendar year, so we agreed a pre-contract deal, then agreed a buy now fee. 250k feels like a bargain. Now, I'm not sure why he was scouted. Our recruitment foci in South America did not include Colombia. Junior FC were not in continental competition, and it's been a long time since he played for the national under-23s. Oh well, I'm not complaining. Our final signing was from our South American scouting mission, and a name those in Spanish football will be familiar with. Federico Redondo wanted to leave Argentinos Juniors, and for just shy of €6 million, we were ready to make that happen. Born in Madrid, and his father played there, he has Spanish second nationality, and fits the all-action mould we're looking for from our defensive midfielders. That's 11 new arrivals. Marinakis would be proud. Whilst our recruitment wasn't quite as Spanish as I'd intended, we managed to keep the languages down. We've got players who speak Spanish, players who speak French, and players who speak Italian. Hopefully this will make settling in a little easier. I'm going to revisit the complicated in and out of possession squad visualization I used a few episodes ago. The episode explaining it should appear in the top right corner about now. Overall, we've got good coverage. There isn't a single position we need to be worried about, except for an unprecedented injury crisis. Granted, it felt like we were in a perpetual injury crisis last season, but hopefully we are even better equipped to handle it this time round. Our biggest challenge, however, will be getting everyone fit. Just 4 pre-season games and 24 mouths to feed. We'll probably split the squad in 2, half with the senior team, the others with the B team, so we can get enough minutes in the legs before the season starts. And boy, what an opening set of fixtures that is. Sevilla, Villarreal, Real Sociedad, Espanyol, Valencia, Celta Vigo, Atletico, Bilbao, and Barcelona. All of last season's top 8 in our opening 10 games. We will be desperately hoping to scrape enough points to keep us in a job, and then hope we can pick up some momentum in November. Well, that was the plan.